Florida Senator Marco Rubio is in the Senate now and on the ballot in November. Senator, thank you for joining us. I've been around you a lot. You are not a pessimistic person. You're not a negative person. But there seem to be a lot of challenges for our country right now. So what worries you the most?
Well, I think what worries me, look, the number one priority of the federal government always has to be the security of our country. And so certainly I'm concerned about that in the short term. There are still terrorists in the world that want to kill Americans. There are still Iranian elements around the world that want to do us and our allies harm. We've watched the carnage that Putin has inflicted on the people of Ukraine, and certainly the Chinese in the long term have a plan to displace America. So that always concerns me above everything else. But I think these short-term, mid-term challenges that we have are problematic, not just because they're bad problems, but because the people at the White House are both incompetent and seem disinterested or unfocused on any of them. The things they're focused on are not the things that are threatening the country right now, which is why I think Americans are going to punish them and their allies in November.
You know, Senator, there's always been debate around the issue of immigration, and reasonable minds can differ on this issue or that, but I don't recall there ever being a debate over border security. I mean, when did that become a contentious political issue, that we actually have security over our border and that we discourage people from risking their lives to come here? I don't remember that being like there being like two sides to that issue.
So thankfully, most Americans are not politicians. So the way they view this issue is through common sense. Common sense, number one, says, yes, we have an immigration system. You know, we're very generous. 1 million people a year come to this country after waiting maybe a decade on a green card. But we have to have rules and a process by which we decide who comes in, when they come in, how they come in. And that involves obviously telling some people they can't come in, at least not yet. And that's why you have a border, and that's why you have border security. Well, the left and this White House seems completely not just disinterested in that, but in fact, they seem to be out there promoting things that are encouraging people to come here illegally. So we have a bad problem at the border now. It's going to get a lot worse. We know for a fact, our government knows for a fact that there are hundreds of thousands of people poised to try to enter the country this summer illegally across the border because, and rightfully so, they believe that if they can get across the border, they say the magic words for asylum request, they're going to get to stay. And they're going to have a work permit, and they're going to get benefits. And so they're coming. We're going to have a big, massive surge of illegal immigration again. And it's already 6,000 a day as we stand here.
All right, let's take a look at the economy. I mean, the job numbers are okay on the plus side, but the other economic markers do not seem to be good. How do you assess the current state of our economy, and what does this administration need to do to get it headed in the right direction?
Well, first they have to admit we have a problem. For a year, they denied it, right? They said inflation wasn't going to be real. They pumped $1.9 trillion of borrowed government money into the economy. It exacerbated inflation. We're going to have a supply chain crisis coming up again. We already have one. We're going to have a very serious one coming up because, we depend too much on China. And, Shanghai's been shut down now for about 6 weeks. So that's going to lead to that problem. That's going to add to inflation. They've been hostile to oil and natural gas, which we have plentiful supplies here in the United States, so the price of that will continue to climb. So even as people are finding jobs and even getting raises, inflation is eating that up even faster. And the inflation is not 8.5%. Inflation is 30% for food and 40-something% for other things. I mean, it's for the things that people need on a daily basis. Inflation is way higher than 8.5%, and real people know it. You put $100, you go to the grocery store and buy $100 worth of groceries. It doesn't feel like $100 worth of groceries, and people notice that every single time they go.
I think it's important for people to set the right expectations, for politicians to set the right expectations. Even if the GOP takes the House and the Senate this November, they're not going to have the White House. So what is a realistic expectation for people to have come January with the Republicans maybe controlling Congress but not the White House?
Well, one is keep bad things from happening. You can put away all these crazy ideas of the far left, these woke ideas, these nuttiness. You can put that stuff away. And the second is we can pass common sense bills and laws and legislation and measures and dare the president to veto them. And we'll see if he does. I think that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on him. What are some of the things we can begin to do? Diversify our supply chains, begin to do things that will encourage more to be made either in America, possible, ideally, or closer to America so we don't depend as much on China. Get rid of these rules through legislation and maybe even through this procedure that we now have to overturn executive orders and rulemaking that have made it so difficult for American oil and natural gas to expand and allow some of that domestic supply to begin to grow. These to make a pretty, I think also the markets will know that they don't have to worry about new trillion-dollar spending programs that are going to make inflation worse. We can do some good things. We can stop every bad thing from happening, and we can begin to pressure this White House to sign some common sense legislation, again, on the things that people care about on a daily basis, not checking the box of every woke, liberal, leftist, Marxist priority that their radical base insists upon.
Marco Rubio from the great state of Florida, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in your life, especially Jeanette. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Trey. Likewise. Thank you.